Hey everybody, welcome to Asmodeah City. I am Lord Giarth, your host for this particular adventure. And today we're going to be talking about something that's a little subjective. And I'm going to tell you about how I handle attuning magical weapons and magical items for players. And there's a lot of different ways that people do this. And I really would love to hear your ways of doing this as well. But I'm going to tell you my ways. And at the end, I'm going to tell you why I do it this way. I'm going to talk about all of that. So let's talk all things attunement of magical items right after this.
Welcome, adventurer, to Asmodeah.
All right, again, welcome back. I am Lord Giarth, and welcome back to Asmodeah City. I appreciate you being here. If you are new here, please, if you haven't already done so, please hit that subscribe button. And obviously hit the like button if you like this video. It helps us out dramatically when you do that. But I have a feeling I'm going to get a lot of comments on this particular video because there's so many different ways people handle this. And I'm totally open to hearing them. I'd love if you have suggestions, if you think I'm insane the way I'm doing it, or I'm not doing it right, or what have you, please feel free to reach out and let me know that. I'm totally open to hearing those things, and other people should hear them as well. But in the meantime, let's talk about attunement and how I handle attunement of magical items. And also, please, that this URL that you're going to see on your screen right now, this is a browser URL. It is not a server URL. So go on your browser, type this in. It'll take you to a web page that can then let you connect up to our Discord server. We'd love if you'd be a part of that community and help people out with this information and other information as well. It'd be awesome. It's really great when, especially when the newer players can ask questions of the more experienced players and get some good information. I love it. So, all right, let's get into this. So first of all, we're talking again about attunement of magical items. But let's talk about what is attunement. So there are those that would say that this is not exactly correct, but I can tell you, as far as the rules are concerned, what little information there is about it in the rules, there is basically a rule for spending time with a particular item in order to bind that item to that player character so that they can then utilize the magical properties of that item. Now, this could be, we're going to talk about a weapon here in a second, but it doesn't have to be a weapon. It could be almost anything. But the whole idea about attunement is to bind this item to the player. So binding should not be automatic. So simply, having a player or a party go out and find in a chest or in a field or in the mud or whatever it is, let's say a sword, and they pick it up and it instantly binds to them. Now, there are some items that I have seen that do instantly bind to a player, and some instantly bind only under certain circumstances, like if that's a wizard or a cleric or whatever. But in this particular case, I don't think it doesn't make sense to me to, in 99.9% of the cases, to have an item instantly bind to a player. What if that player character can't use the item? So now you've wasted a perfectly good magical item by binding it to somebody that can't even use it. So the whole idea here is to have the character spend some time with this item, and I'm going to explain what I mean by that in a second, and then it binds to them. So that's kind of what attunement really is all about. So let's talk about the difference in magical items that require attunement and those that don't. So I pulled up a couple of long swords here in this is Foundry, by the way. I pulled these up, and I'm going to show you this first one. This first one is a longsword +1, and it's just a basic longsword +1. And if you read the description of it, it's through some magical means, or some interesting means or ethereal means or whatever, this item has some magical property, which in this case is just the ability to add a +1. Now, this does not require attunement, right? And you can see that just by looking at the description. But this one here, which is a longsword of life stealing, does require attunement, and you can see that by looking at this very first line in the description, right? So, oops, didn't mean to do that. All right. So how do we handle the attunement part of this? Now, there's the easy way, and I'm going to tell you that part first. The easy way is, let's say they just find this item, somebody picks it up, they look at it and they say, oh, it's a, longsword of life stealing, and it does this and it does that. Now, how you would pick up something without some special ability of your own, how would you just pick up something and know all about it? It doesn't make any sense, right? There has to be some way of you finding out what this item really is, what it does, what it's, how to identify it, all these different things. Now, the easy way, again, is just give it to them. And then you as the DM saying, okay, well, now you need to spend some time concentrating on this item before it can be bound to you and you can use it as a magical item. So that could be, whatever you as the DM think is appropriate. It could be a, short rest, a long rest, a week, a month, whatever it is that you feel is appropriate. You can then have that character take that amount of time to then study this item and then bind it to them. So that's the kind of the, in my opinion, the chicken way of doing it. It's not really realistic, and it doesn't really add the spice to the whole role play idea. So let me show you or tell you how I do this. And there's not going to be a whole lot of graphics going on the screen right now. I'm just going to tell you about what I do. I will show you this, though. Let's say a party finds a chest, and in that chest is a longsword. And they pick up this longsword and they look at it. Now, what I've done in this case is I've created this thing called an interesting sword. And I didn't even put a picture on it or even any details or anything else. I just kind of made it a weapon, and I can make it whatever I want. I did this, by the way, here in Foundry by coming up here. You can click on the little option for items here. Click on create item. I named it what I wanted. I selected weapon as its type, and then I created the item. So that's all I've done here at this point. Now, I give them this particular item. And if they're smart, somebody in that party, maybe the person picking it up, somebody in that party is going to use maybe detect magic or some other method to detect that this item is actually a magical item, that it has some magical properties. They don't really know what yet. They're not sure what it is, but it's got some magical properties to it. So let's say that now one of the party members has this item and wants to figure out what it is. Now, it's probably going to be somebody in the party that could use a longsword or a sword or whatever. They don't even really know it's a longsword. Well, I guess you could look at it and see it's a longsword. But the whole idea being that somebody in the party is going to take it who can use it and then spend some time trying to figure out what it is. Now, the first thing I have them do is they could, again, they could put this in their inventory. They can even equip it and use it if they want, but it's just a sword. It's not going to give them any benefit. It's just going to be a sword. That's all it is. So they take it, they put it in their inventory, and now I tell them, okay, in order for you to determine what this is, you need to spend some time concentrating, studying, looking at this item, trying to figure out what this item really is. And not necessarily what it does, but what it is. Meaning, it's a magical longsword. And I've found some interesting information about it. Now, how do we do that? Well, I tell them that they have to spend some amount of time concentrating on it. Again, it could be a short rest, long rest, a week, a month, a year. It could be whatever it is that I feel is appropriate for the adventure, for the player, for the item. All of those things I take into consideration. So now, let's say they do that. They spend some time concentrating. I then have them come back and do some sort of a check, probably a wisdom check or something like that, maybe Arcana, whatever it is that I want them to do, whatever is appropriate. And if they pass that test for the roll, whatever threshold I've set, then I tell them, you've identified the item. You now know this is a longsword of life stealing. And now they still have this item in their inventory. It's still an interesting sword in their inventory. But now at least they know what it is. So I tell my players, okay, you need to now go away and research what a longsword of life stealing is, what it does, what its properties are, all of those things. And then come back to me at the next session and tell me what you know about this longsword of life stealing. Now, what am I asking them to do? I'm asking them to go away on the internet, look it up, try to figure it out, find out what it is, and get as much detail as they can about it, and bring it back to me at the next session and explain to me what they found out. Now, of course, the other option is they could take it to some magical armor and pay them to identify it and whatever. I mean, they could do that, obviously. But in this case, let's say they don't do that. I want them to go research it. Now, I'm going to tell you at the end of this why I have them do this. So they're going to go away, look on the internet, maybe look in the DM guide, look at whatever. They're going to do whatever research that they need to do. And they're going to find, oh, here's what it does. And so they're going to come back and they're going to tell me this does this and this and this. It has, this, if you hit and you roll a 20 on your hit, it does an additional, 3d6 of necrotic damage, assuming it's not a construct or undead. And I get back some temporary hit points that are equal to that extra damage. So if they tell me all of the things that and I'm just using this as an example, but if they tell me all the things that I feel gives them a clear understanding of what this item is, I say, aha, you absolutely have identified this item. And you have identified what it does. Now, in order for you to use it, you must spend time concentrating and really, looking at this item carefully before it can be bound to you and that you can use its magical properties. So again, what am I asking them to do? I can ask them to, again, it could be a short rest, a long rest, a week, a month, a year, 10 year. It could be whatever it is that I feel is appropriate. And you don't want to make it ridiculous. You want to make it realistic. And then once they've done that, again, come back, do a roll, whatever roll I, think is appropriate. If they meet that threshold for the attunement, then I say to them, okay, now you have fully researched and fully understand this magical item. It is now bound to you and you can use all of its properties. Now, in this case, then what I do is I'd go into their inventory, I would take away this interesting sword, and I would give them this long sword of life stealing that they can now use. Now, what if I want to make it, what if they maybe don't hit that threshold when they're actually doing the attunement part of this? Maybe they rolled a 2 or something, and it, just really a bad roll that didn't give them, it didn't make the threshold of what I expected for them. Okay, well, maybe I just say, well, you know what? Something just something is not right about this. It's just the item is not apparently bonding to you for some reason, and play it up. Role play it. That's the whole idea. Sorry, players. But otherwise it just makes it too simple, right? And then make them do another, short rest, long rest, week, month, year, whatever it is, have them do that and come back and roll again. But see, the whole point of this is to role play, to make it more realistic. What if you were wrong? What if, or what if, and you as the DM could do this, what if you now, after doing that, not only did it not bind to you, but you realized something about it. It's cursed. And the moment it binds to you, it starts draining your life, starts stealing your life away at X rate, whatever that is, right? So again, play with it. That's kind of the whole point of this, is to make it not only fun, but educational. So now I told you that at the end of this, I was going to explain to you why I do it this way. And here's why. Because think about it for a moment. If the player has gone through all of this work, has literally themselves physically researched on the internet, DM Guide or Monster, whatever it is, they have researched this item and found out all this information about it, and then spent some extra time through your role play, some extra time binding it to or attempting to bind it to themselves. By the time they do all of that, they know this weapon inside out and backwards. They're going to know when to pull it out. They're going to know when not to pull it out. They're going to realize what it can do for them, what it can't do for them. They're going to know everything that there is to know about this particular item. And that makes for realistic gameplay. So guys and gals, I hope that this was helpful for you. Again, if you have other ways of doing this, if you think I'm out of my mind, you think that, maybe you should just give it to them, just give it to them. Whatever it is, if you have an opinion about this, please leave it in the comments below or join us at this URL that you're going to see right now, the discord.asmodeah.com. Again, that is a browser URL. It is not a server URL. I've had people complain to me going, I can't join that server. Yeah, you can. If you go to the browser and just enter it in, it's fine. So I hope this is helpful. Please share your thoughts with us. Please subscribe, like, comment, all of those wonderful things. And as always, when adventuring, be careful, be safe, and be kind. Peace.